Urban cool plus science fiction plus mysterious plus invincible, Xing is still an ordinary worker who accidentally obtains an energy loop and travels back to ancient times. When he finds out his true identity, he is very shocked. After obtaining everything, he travels back to modern times. When the king returns, he will clear these layers of fog. Chapter 1. Hard Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My mansion is located in major cities around the world, and it is the most luxurious and top-notch. I own the world's largest entertainment company, such as Island Country Pictures and Bangzy Entertainment, all of which are subsidiaries of Lousy. I have to make an appointment 1 year in advance for all countries' opinions. I have put an end to thousands of years of global conflict and let the world return to peace forever. Because it's the planet that I call the shots. Xing also woke up from the assembly line and shouted. His sudden roar startled the colleagues around him, especially Lu Irma, the line leader. He walked up to Xing and said unhappily, "You the final say. Then you can fire me first." The assembly line burst into laughter, and Xing blushed as he lowered his head to pick up the workpiece and quickly pressed it down. "Look at how your workpieces are piled up. You are such a fool. It's up to you to give back the planet and the station. I will kowtow to you." Lu Irma said coldly to Xing. "Not only does he work lazily, but he also keeps staring at us, Wang Meili, all day long with a sly expression." Lu Irma said while smiling and looking at Wang Meili. Lu Irma saw that Xing was still silent, and immediately lost interest. He walked towards his workstation and said as he walked, "Do toads like you still want to eat swan meat? Even if toads can eat swan meat, they are not like you. Why don't you hate Xing? Let him humiliate you like this. He's just used to bullying you without saying a word. People are good at being bullied, and horses are good at being ridden. You can't get used to him like this." The nearby workers were all indignant. "I'm too lazy to talk to him. He's just being quick-witted. Let him go," and I did delay work. "It's normal for him to say a few words," Xing said as he accelerated his pace of work. "I think that bastard just owes me smoking. If it were for me, I would have had a grudge against him long ago. If you had such a good temper and dared to provoke me, I wouldn't tolerate him." The worker beside me looked angry. Xing chuckled and continued to work without saying a word. He is really too tired. Working non-stop for a long time has made him fall asleep in the remaining 10 minutes of his lunch break, only then can he speak such bold words. Xing, who pays back the money, is an assembly line operator in an electronics factory. Press the 2 metal covers into the card slot with both thumbs, and merge the workpiece into one. Repeat this process continuously for 12 hours a day. This is Xing Huan's job. A salary of over 3,000, with little left after rent, utilities, and living expenses. Every day, like a prisoner trapped in a cage that is not a cage, I don't know when these days will end. He kept asking in his heart. Is this how this life is? Repeating like a machine every day, repeating like this every day until the end of life. Finally made it to the end of the workday. When I was a child, I longed for the end of class bell. When I grew up, I longed for the end of work bell, as if life has always been looking forward to everything that cannot be obtained. The more you want in reality, the less you get. Perhaps this is life. I have to accept fate's arrangement for the sake of life. He came to the changing room and took off his work clothes, put on jeans and a leather jacket, and changed into his leather shoes that he had been wearing for 2 years. Then he took out the car key, looped the keyring around his index finger, whistled to the parking lot, and rode his 800 yuan second-hand electric bike home. The city where Xing still lives is bordered by a long river to the north and a large lake to the south. Since ancient times, it has been a land of fish and rice, with many tourist attractions and developed modern industries, making Dahu's city one of the top livable cities in the country. Xing was still riding an electric bike on the road, fantasizing that he was riding a racing car with a loud bang on the door. Even if the switch is turned all the way, the speed will not exceed 30 yards. The speed of reality pulled his excited fantasies back to reality. But he still had a smile on his face, humming a single love song and leaving. The sun has already set, and the street lights on the roadside have also been lit up. The cold wind at the end of December hit Xinghuan's face like needles, and those thick gloves couldn't stop the invasion of the cold wind. His hands were already cold and painful. After half an hour of cycling, I finally got home. The house that Xing still rented is 2 bedrooms and 1 living room, with a monthly rent of 1,200 yuan. I could have shared a room with someone else, which would save half of the rent, but Xing still likes to be alone. Perhaps he agreed to that sentence. Genius is always lonely. A day's work had already exhausted him both physically and mentally. As soon as he entered the door, he rushed towards the bedroom and eagerly collapsed onto the bed, feeling no mood to cook. He remembered his dream at noon, and if it were true, it would be great. How can we continue like this? How can we continue like this? If we continue to develop like this, not to mention owning a beautiful villa, we may not even be able to marry a wife. It's more like screwing a screw for a lifetime, Xing thought to himself. Others drive Mercedes-Benz and BMW, but I can only drive Baolu. His electric vehicle is a Baolu brand. Why is the gap so big when others live in villas and I can't even afford to rent a better house? What exactly is the problem? Am I not working hard enough? Others' wives are all celebrity beauties, but I don't know where my lover is. Is this fate? It's destined that I should be like this. Will fate not change? Has the gear been welded to death? Will it never rotate again? Xing was still daydreaming for a while. It was already 8:30, and he dragged his tired body up to cook. There is a snack shop downstairs not far away, and you can also order fast food online, but for him who lives on the bottom floor, these are all luxurious. For his meager income, saving a penny is worth a penny, no matter how tired he is, he has to do it himself. There is not much rice to open the rice bag, and it can support 2 meals at most. Xing also scooped a small bowl of rice into a basin to wash it, and then poured it into the rice cooker to start the congee cooking mode. The refrigerator was empty, and there was still a bag of pickled vegetables left on the cutting board, so I had to cook porridge to make do with it. He sat on the stool, watching the rice cooker gradually steam out. After the porridge was cooked, he filled a bowl and placed it on the table to cool down. After a while, he started drinking the pickled vegetables with a savory taste. The smell of wine and meat in Zhumen suddenly appeared in his mind, and the story of frozen bones on the road made him burst into tears. Tears fell into the porridge, and he continued to suck in his mouth. It seems like he's the frozen bone. On a snowy evening, he died in front of a wealthy family. Tears keep dripping, destined to be another lonely and long night. After washing the dishes, he walked to the window and looked at the bustling traffic outside. The bustling streets were still bustling with people. He stared out the window and gazed into the distance, feeling out of place with the world. His salary was not high, he only had enough to eat and have no friends or family. In this cold and lonely night, he could only face it on his own. Suddenly, the phone rang and it showed that it was Sun Xiaoxiao calling. This is a petite and lively girl who is also very friendly to Xing. I don't know where the other person places her, but in Xing's heart, she still considers her a friend. He answered the phone and asked, "What's up with Xiaoxiao?" "Oh, it's nothing serious. I told you a few days ago that I introduced my cousin to someone you know. Do you remember? Now that someone has arrived at my house, come over quickly." Sun Xiaoxiao joked in a somewhat hurried tone. "Oh, forget it, I thought you were just joking. I didn't feel too embarrassed about anything." Xing still struggled to support himself with his current ability. He didn't have the confidence to bring a good life to others, but he still felt grateful to Sun Xiaoxiao in his heart. I said, why are you like this? Whether two people can be together is first about feelings, second about emotions, and it has nothing to do with whether you have money or not. Sun Xiaoxiao said with a hint of anger. I didn't mean that, don't misunderstand. I'm just afraid of losing someone and letting them suffer along. Xing explained with a bitter smile. You're just like this, thinking more than doing. Why do you think so much? Besides, I'll give you a chance. My cousin may not even be able to take a liking to you. Are you thinking too far about whether you can give someone a good day? Sun Xiaoxiao's disdainful voice came from the other end of the phone. Upon hearing Sun Xiaoxiao say this, Xing suddenly felt his face scorching hot like fire. He panicked and said, okay, I understand. I'll go over later. Thank you for your kindness. Alright, come over quickly and wait for you. Sun smiled and hung up the phone with a smile. After being humiliated by Sun Xiaoxiao, Xing had to dress and change shoes, go downstairs and ride an electric bike to rush to Sun Xiaoxiao's house. On the way, Sun Xiaoxiao's adorable smiling face kept coming to his mind, just like her name. She was a girl who loved to laugh, and she was as happy as a flower every day. I don't know why she was so happy. Although she is not very tall, her body shape is symmetrical, giving people a feeling of being a little bird and a desire to protect her. Xing always thought it was just a joke, but she didn't expect to actually do it. It seems that she also treats Xing as a friend. On the way, Xing also bought some barbecue and 2 bottles of drinks. Although he was a bit familiar with Sun Xiaoxiao, he couldn't go empty-handed. No matter how poor he was, the basic etiquette still needs to be taught. 20 minutes later, I arrived downstairs from Sun Xiaoxiao. The community where Sun Xiaoxiao and Xing still live is only 2 blocks away. He lives to the east, and Sun Xiaoxiao lives to the west. It's not like buying something that takes up to 10 minutes to get to her doorstep. Xing parked the car, carried things upstairs, and knocked on the door of room 302. The door creaked open, and in the moment it opened, Xing was shocked. The person who opened the door was a golden ratio figure, with long black hair and exquisite facial features. This appearance was no less impressive than those of top-tier celebrities. Xing remained motionless at the door. Hello, who are you? The beautiful woman asked. Xing regained his senses and replied, oh, my name is Xinghuan, and I am Sun Xiaoxiao's colleague. Oh, you're Xinghuan. You said your name with a smile, please come in. The beautiful woman shyly welcomed Xinghuan into the door. Xing also carried things into the house and changed into slippers. The delicious taste of dishes rushed towards me. Haven't you eaten so late yet? My cousin just came from her hometown, so she was a little late today. Sun Xiaoxiao came out of the kitchen with a plate of fried kung pao chicken. Sun Xiaoxiao took off her apron and said to Xing, let me introduce you to my cousin Li Yan, who just came from her hometown. Then she said to Li Yan, sister, this is what I told you about Xinghuan. Li Yan smiled and nodded at Xing. Hello, hello. Xing also nodded to Li Yan as a gesture of goodwill. Once we've introduced ourselves, let's get to know each other. Let's have dinner and chat while we eat. Sun Xiaoxiao said while setting up the dishes. Xing quickly put the barbecue and drinks he bought on the table. I don't know what you like to eat, so I just bought some casually. Come on, what else are you buying? What are you doing with that wasted money? I don't even know when this table will be finished, Sun Xiaoxiao blamed. My cousin shouldn't have eaten it just to wait for me. Come on, sit down and eat together. Li Yan flicked her slender arm and pulled out a stool from under the table. You guys eat, I've already eaten it, take your time. Xing still restrained himself. If I ask you to eat, you can eat. Why are you being polite and reasonable? Sun Xiaoxiao said with a slanted eye and a mouthful. I really ate it, I'm not polite. You guys eat, I'll sit next to you for a while. Yixing then walked towards the sofa. You're still pretending, come over quickly. I've got all the dishes for you. Sun Xiaoxiao glared at him irritably. Okay, don't stare at me. You'll scare me away later, Yixing said and sat down at the table. The three of them burst out laughing and sat together, starting to eat. Sun Xiaoxiao, your craftsmanship is good. You've cooked so many dishes, have you all done it alone? Well, the Kung Pao chicken is delicious, and the spiced chicken is also delicious. Yixing also tasted every dish. Actually, I have already had my meal, but I didn't have as much richness as you. I just ate some pickled vegetables. You called in a while, and I didn't expect you to make it so rich. So I'll take this opportunity to have a dental ceremony with you, hehe. Yixing said while eating. Li Yan pursed her lips and smiled, then you can eat more, don't be polite. Well, you're definitely not polite. What's the relationship between Sun Xiaoxiao and me? That's even more iron than my iron brothers, even more intimate than my own brothers. I'll definitely have to eat until she drives me away. Yixing joked. Who is your iron buddy? Who is your own brother? Don't try to build relationships here. I won't accept your tricks, Sun Xiaoxiao said with a strange smile. Alright, let's talk about cross-talk here. Hurry up and eat while it's hot. The food will be cold later, Li Yan said with a gentle smile. Try this barbecue while it's hot, don't waste it. Yixing said, taking out 2 chicken wings from a plastic bag and handing them to them. Yixing also picked up a big chicken wing and gnawed wildly, asking, Li Yan, what are you doing in Dahu City? Are you coming to see your cousin? I'm looking for a job, and I don't have much education. There aren't many job opportunities in my hometown, so I came to seek refuge with my cousin. Li Yan looked at Sun Xiaoxiao. Yixing nodded and didn't say anything. I will tell the workshop director tomorrow that the new year is coming to an end. If some people go back to their hometown to celebrate the new year, there will be a shortage of staff. Let my sister work in the factory first, and then resign if she finds a more suitable one later. Sun Xiaoxiao said. That's great, then we'll be colleagues from now on. If there's anything you don't understand, I'll teach you. Yixing volunteered with confidence on his face. Cough cough, Sun Xiaoxiao coughed twice and said, I'm here. Can you teach me? Don't be arrogant there. Li Yan covered her mouth and pursed a smile. Okay, I acted too sentimentally and forgot about you, the teacher. Then I'll leave this difficult task to you. Yixing brushed a hint of embarrassment on his face. Chapter 2. Dating. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Happy times are always brief, 2 hours have passed unnoticed. Sun Xiaoxiao tidied up the leftovers on the table, and Yixing and Li Yan came to the living room sofa. The living room is not big, it's over 10 square meters. The sofa is made of fabric, off-white, and can accommodate 3 people. Li Yan sat on one end, while Yixing sat on the other end, separated by a seat in the middle. Both of them were very reserved, but in the end, Yixing broke the silence and said, How old are you this year? Have you been to any other city before coming to Dahu City? I'm 18 years old and haven't been to any other city. This is my first time going out. Li Yan's pretty face blushed slightly. Yixing nodded and said, I am 2 years older than you. I have been to several cities, such as the capital city, Haicheng, and Shucheng, where I have worked, but I haven't made any money. It's too difficult to earn money by working, I only have enough to feed myself. You've been to so many places. You're really annoying. You've only been to so many places 2 years older than me. I really admire you. Li Yan continued with admiration on her face, if you don't have much money, save some money. You'll definitely have more in the future. Yixing even glanced at her and didn't agree with her statement. He believed that money was not saved, but earned. Not spending enough was not because he didn't save, but because he earned too little. But he did not refute Li Yan. To avoid embarrassment, Xing continued to find a topic and said, "Forget it, let me tell you some stories about my work process." "Okay, you tell me, I love listening to stories the most." Li Yan became excited. "Let's listen together, xiao xiao, xiao xiao." Xing shouted twice before coming from the bedroom, "What are you doing? Come out and listen to the story. I want to tell your cousin a story." "I'm not coming, I'm just following a TV drama." "You guys can talk." "Oh," Xing replied, knowing in his heart that this was the opportunity given by Xiao Xiao to be alone with Li Yan, and deliberately declined. Xing didn't think much anymore, looking at Li Yan's smiling face with a feeling of spring breeze brushing his face. "Then I'll start." Li Yan turned the sofa around and held her chin in both hands, staring at Xing Huan with a pair of cute girls. Xing felt as if he had been electrocuted for a moment, then he was stunned and hurriedly said, "That year I was 14 years old. I grew up in an orphanage, maybe because I didn't have parents and lacked family control, so my academic performance was not good. I often secretly ran out of the orphanage." "Are you an orphan?" "I'm sorry, when it comes to your background, Xiao Xiao didn't tell me." Li Yan apologized. Xing also smiled and said, "It's okay, I haven't told anyone, and I don't care about my background anymore. Over the years, I've met all kinds of people, and I've become accustomed to all kinds of strange looks. Actually, there's nothing wrong with orphans. It's great to be carefree and free. Alright, let's not discuss my background anymore. Let's continue with my work experience." Li Yan nodded quietly. "After school that day, I escaped from the orphanage, and as an isolated person, I could only wander the streets. At night, I was so hungry that I couldn't bear it and wandered in front of a noodle shop. Is the noodle shop owner a kind-hearted person treating you to noodles?" Li Yan thought to herself. No, if it were really that good luck, it would be great. Unfortunately, I encountered a big scammer. Li Yan's face was full of nervousness and curiosity, urging, "What happened later? Hurry up and tell me." The scammer saw at first glance that I was a runaway child and approached me, treating me to noodles and then using my words. Innocently, I told him everything about myself. "Did they kidnap and sell you? Did they sell you to Gayz? Or did they sell you to work as a child laborer in a black coal mine?" Li Yan asked, using her powerful brain-boosting ability. "Don't guess, it's not even true. That person is over 20 years older than me and says he doesn't have children. He looks pitiful at me and wants to take me in and let me follow him. If he takes a bite, then I will take a bite. I saw him as kind and amiable, not like a bad person. At that time, I had no choice but to leave him alone, so I followed him to work in the capital city. It's said to be the capital city, but in fact, it's a small town on the outskirts of the capital city, almost out of town. In an unknown small workshop in the town, there were only about 10 people working in the workshop. Our job is to take leftover materials that have been used by others and put them on a punching machine to stamp them into a triangular iron plate, which is used in the ballast. There are two difficulties in this job. First, it needs to be fast, but it can't be fast at all because the materials we use are all leftover materials that have been used by others. Several large circles have been washed away by others on a material that is 1 meter long and 20 centimeters wide, and the area for us to press is only an inch between the two circles. Li Yan listened with great interest and couldn't even breathe. Her eyes told Xing to quickly continue speaking, and he continued, "If it's slow, there's no quantity. If there's no quantity, there's no salary. Because it's piece rate, you get more with more work. If it's fast, it's easy to rush to the gap and cause damage. If the damage is large, you'll have to deduct your salary. The key is that the salary wasn't high at that time. Is that difficult?" Li Yan nodded in agreement. Yixing continued, the second difficulty is dirtiness. The mixed smell of oil and sweat all over the body, even after taking a shower, cannot dissipate and is nauseating. It's really bitter. I have to endure such hardship at such a young age, sighed Li Yan. At this moment, Yixing's eyes were still slightly moist as he said, this is all his own choice and fate. No matter what kind of life and suffering it is, he must endure it. Li Yan nodded in agreement and made a gesture of cheering up Yixing. He continued with a smile, the bitterness is still ahead. Do you know how cold the winter in the north is? Li Yan quickly shook her head and listened attentively. It's available at temperatures as low as -20 degrees Celsius, and most households in the north have heating. The worst ones also have Kong, you know, which is a large rectangular shape built with adobe and can be heated inside. Sleeping on it at night won't be cold. Li Yan nodded in confusion. For northerners, this thing is not uncommon, just like common sense, everyone knows it. But for the southern region without a Kong, this thing is not just rare, it may just be magical. Yixing paused and continued, but in this small factory, there are none of these two things, so we can only sleep in bed. In the coldest days, we almost wake up every night from freezing. It's useless to turn on the electric mattress. It's so pitiful, you're still a child, Li Yan whispered. Although I have suffered a lot, it has already passed. I never feel that it is pain. I have always felt that God is testing me and honing my will. I have always looked at the past with a grateful heart, seeing it as a gift and gift from God. Yixing remained firm. In fact, physical suffering is nothing, and what I cannot accept the most is someone else's deception. That scammer said it was all too much, how can he take me like a biological child? But all the money he earned was squandered by him. Apart from being able to eat 2 full meals a day, I didn't get anything. Yixing's eyes flashed with a hint of tears. Your experience has been too difficult, you have borne a weight that you shouldn't have at that age. Li Yan comforted. I'm also lucky, as you said, if you were to be abducted to a black coal mine to work as a laborer, it would be a near death. Li Yan pursed her lips and chuckled twice, you're a bit lucky to hear that. So what happened later? What happened later? Later. Where else was there? Later, after working for a few months, I felt something was wrong, so I ran away again, wandering around. Can I still be fooled by this scammer for a lifetime? Don't just talk about me, tell me about you. If you have any interesting stories or experiences, let me know. I don't have much to say. I'm not as experienced and knowledgeable as you are. I came from the countryside and my family's conditions are not good. I also have a younger brother who is about to take the college entrance examination. My father passed away 2 years ago due to illness. Li Yan looked sad. Relying on my mother to do odd jobs near my hometown to support my siblings in their daily lives and education was really difficult, and I couldn't bear it. In the end, I made a difficult decision to give up my studies and come out to work. Providing my younger brother with education and relieving my mother's burden is my story. Li Yan said as tears swirled in her eyes. Yixing couldn't help but feel pity as he looked at this equally unfortunate girl, but he could only lament in his heart when he thought of his 3-digit savings. But he still mustered up the courage to say, you are also a hard-working child, but you are a good girl, a good sister. You are even more hard-working than me. You have a great future and have to give up because of necessity, while I am not working hard on my own. Li Yan wiped the corner of her eyes and smiled, saying, thank you for praising me so much. You are also very pitiful. If you had a complete family, you would definitely not be like this now. We are all abandoned children of old fate, but we cannot give up on ourselves. Li Yan's words were deafening. I didn't expect such a delicate girl on the outside to be so strong inside. After listening to her words, Yixing felt full of strength and excitedly said, yes. We can't give up on ourselves. I believe we can create a better future with our hands. Live a wonderful life. Li Yan agreed, we can definitely live a wonderful life. Xing nodded with a smile and said, Xiao Xiao and I are friends. In the future, we will both be friends. If there are any difficulties, Xiao Xiao and I will also help you. Although I am not a wealthy person or a second-generation wealthy person, I cannot give you much money, but Xiao Xiao and I will do our best to help you. We are your strong support, thank you, you are a good person. You treated me so well when we first met, thank you, Li Yan said gratefully. Hi, you're welcome. We're all friends. Maybe even when I'm in trouble, I need your help. Isn't it true that friends help each other in times of need? Li Yan's eyes were filled with gratitude and a hint of disappointment. Yes, we are all friends, but we still want to thank you. You see, it's time for friends to help each other. You don't need to thank each other. Xing chuckled. After sitting for a while, Xing also looked at the 10 yuan quartz watch in his hand and stood up from the sofa, saying, Oh, it's getting late, it's almost 12 o'clock. You should rest early too. It's also quite tiring to take a day's ride from your hometown. Let's talk again when we have time. Li Yan also stood up and said, Let Xiao Xiao see you off. Xing jokingly said, What should I give? I'm not a yellow flower girl who's afraid of bad luck. No need, you guys rest. Just give me a smile, and I won't say hello to her. Li Yan chuckled lightly and said, then pay attention to your safety on the way. Sun Xiao Xiao heard the sound of the door closing and came out of the bedroom. Sun Xiao Xiao looked at Li Yan with ill intentions, but Li Yan dared not look at her and sat back on the sofa with restraint. How is it, sister? Are you still satisfied? Have you taken a liking to him? Sun Xiao Xiao asked curiously. Oh, why are you asking so straightforwardly? This is the first time we've met, and he said we're all friends, they only treat me like a friend. Li Yan blushed and said. Sun Xiao Xiao looked at Li Yan's red face and knew that her sister's heart was stirred. Sun Xiao Xiao teased and said, Sister, what era is this? If you ask what this is about, how should I ask? Miss, are you interested in the young master just now? Did the young master have feelings for you just now? Is this a subtle question? She smiled for a moment and then continued, Have you watched too many costume dramas? Are you foolish? If someone doesn't say they're friends when they first meet, will they just let you be their wife? Look at your sharp tongues, your personalities are quite suitable. Both of you have sharp teeth and sharp mouths, but you two are quite a good match, Li Yan said solemnly. Sister, please don't shift the topic. He and I are just colleagues and ordinary friends, and we are innocent. Besides, we have the same personality. Don't we argue every day? What should I have with him, and why should I introduce him to you? What has become of that? Sun Xiao Xiao blushed. I'm joking with you to make you nervous, Li Yan giggled non-stop. After laughing for a while, Li Yan pressed down on her heaving chest and said, I feel that although he is not very old, he has rich experience, is upright, treats people sincerely without affectation, is articulate, but a bit poor and slick. It seems that we have found the ideal husband. With such careful observation, the last two are not a flaw for women. After saying this, Sun Xiao Xiao touched Li Yan's blushing face with both hands. Li Yan shyly pushed Sun Xiao Xiao's hand away and said, Oh my! These 8 characters haven't been ignored yet. How could you say that? I'm not sure what his true thoughts are in his heart. What if he really treats me like an ordinary friend? That's easy to handle. Tomorrow I'll help you ask him. As long as you're in love here, it's easy to handle. As the saying goes, a man chasing a woman is separated by a mountain, and a woman chasing a man is separated by a veil. A top-tier beauty like my sister can't even be found with a lantern or a searchlight. What reason does Xing have to refuse? Sun Xiao Xiao said proudly. Don't be in such a hurry, take it slow. If he really cares about me, he should be able to feel it over time. Li Yan murmured. Oh, if you like it, tell him. Why take it slow? Don't you know that every penny of time is worth a penny? I don't know what you think, play hide and seek. If one day I meet someone I like, I'll just drag them back to my house. Sun Xiaoxiao laughed happily and said. How could there be someone like you? Aren't you a hooligan? It's strange if someone doesn't scold you as crazy. Li Yan pressed Sun Xiaoxiao's brow with her finger. Although what I said is a bit exaggerated, I want you to be bold and speak out your love bravely. I know you are thinking for your sister's good and well-being, but emotional matters cannot be rushed. You need to be patient and wait quietly for it to arrive. Sister, I can't tell you're still an old driver. Are you fishing for big fish on a long line? Sun Xiaoxiao joked. What old driver, what long line fishing for big fish? Li Yan chased Sun Xiaoxiao towards the bedroom. After a frolic, the two sisters lay quietly in bed. I called the workshop director about your coming to work in our company. Tomorrow, I will take you to report and buy him 2 cigarettes. This is popular for people seeking help. Oh, I'll give you the money for buying cigarettes when my salary is paid. What are you giving me? You don't treat me like a younger sister. Save the money you earn and send it home to your aunt. The factory has been around for a while, so life is quite easy. All electronic factories are like this. I have asked the workshop director to try to have you and me work together, so that we can take care of anything. Sun Xiaoxiao touched Li Yan's beautiful face again. How can I thank you for being so kind to my sister? Li Yan blushed with emotion. You see, you're here again. You don't think of me as a relative. We sisters are all friends. Mine is yours. I'm bored at ordinary times. Now that you're here, I'll be with you. It's getting late and it's already over 12 o'clock. Hurry up and take a shower to rest. We have an interview tomorrow, and towels and soap are ready for you. The bathroom is next to the kitchen. If you like to sleep alone, there is also a bedroom next to mine. If you're used to sleeping alone, come to my bedroom. Sun Xiaoxiao said. I see, you go to bed first. I'll sleep on my own tonight, so that I won't wake you up later when I take a shower and you fall asleep. Okay, then I'll go to bed first. Chapter 3. Interview. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Sun Xiaoxiao brought Li Yan to the company entrance. Sun Xiaoxiao first changed into work clothes in the changing room, and then took the 2 cigarettes she had just bought and walked towards the workshop director's office with Li Yan. In the hallway to the office, Sun Xiaoxiao greeted his colleagues, but their gaze fell on Li Yan. Her flowing hair, slender figure, and delicate face made everyone drool. Upon arriving at the office door, Sun Xiaoxiao knocked twice, and inside came a middle-aged man's voice. Please come in. Sun Xiaoxiao pushed open the door and led Li Yan in. A middle-aged man in his 40s crossed his legs and only lowered them from his desk when they entered. This person is slightly overweight, standing 1.6 meters tall, with a shiny face and a lewd expression staring at Li Yan. Hello director, Sun Xiaoxiao nodded and said hello to the workshop director. Li Yan also nodded in agreement. This is my sister, and what I said on the phone is her. This is a little token of our appreciation, I hope you accept it. Sun Xiaoxiao handed over the 2 cigarettes as she spoke. The director's eyes were not fixed on the cigarette at all, still fixed on Li Yan. Director, director. Sun Xiaoxiao shouted twice in a row, and the lecherous director finally regained his senses. No wonder he's lost in thought. Faced with the fairy-like Li Yan, which normal man wouldn't take a second look. After the workshop director regained his senses, he said, Why are you so polite? He had already put 2 cigarettes into the drawer in the bottom left corner while speaking. My sister is coming to work at the company, so there may be more places to trouble you in the future, Sun Xiaoxiao said with a smile. Then let's try online for a day first. Tomorrow, I'll go to the HR department to fill out the information. I'll call the HR department later. His eyes, which were narrowed in color, kept turning as he spoke. Okay, thank you, Director. Then we'll go to work, Sun Xiaoxiao replied. The director stared at Li Yan with a smile and said, okay, let's go. Sun Xiaoxiao and Li Yan came out of the office and went directly to the logistics department, where they would give Li Yan a set of work clothes. After leaving the office and heading north through a corridor, turn right and arrive at the logistics department. After filling out the information, the administrator took a set of work clothes, a pair of anti-static gloves, a key to the storage cabinet, and a pair of anti-static work shoes. These shoes are self-funded and look a bit like disposable slippers in a hotel. Li Yan picked up her clothes and followed Sun Xiaoxiao to the changing room. She took out the key and opened the cabinet door to change her work clothes, then put on gloves and followed Sun Xiaoxiao to the workshop assembly line. As soon as you enter the workshop, you can smell a strong pine aroma. Rosin, as a soldering flux, is widely used in the welding of electronic components. This assembly line runs north-south and is over 30 meters long. Countless circuit boards waiting to be processed flow out from the wave soldering machine in the south, and people, mostly female workers, sit on both sides of the assembly line. Sun Xiaoxiao walked up to the team leader Lu Irma to explain the situation to him, and then brought Li Yan to their workstation. Sister, just sit next to me, and we'll sit next to each other. If there's any problem, we can take care of it. After speaking, they sat on the bench at the workstation. Sister, I will now give you a brief introduction to the operation process of this job. In fact, this job is very simple, and you can easily understand it at a glance. It just requires patience, a long period of patience, patience with the boredom of this job, patience with 12 hours of wear on your will. We are like robots, sitting here every day working for 12 hours. Sun Xiaoxiao looked at Li Yan with a serious expression on her face. Li Yan listened attentively while watching Sun Xiaoxiao carefully put each small circuit board on the assembly line into a small iron shell, then covered it with another iron lid, and then pressed the lid tightly with her hand to ensure that the slots of the lid were tightly fastened together. This is her daily work. Li Yan watched for a while and also began to follow the operation. As time passed, her movements became more and more proficient, and her speed also became faster and faster. Sister, one more thing is to keep up with the speed of the assembly line and not let the workpieces accumulate too much. In that case, the workpieces in front will pile up more and more, and there will be no work to do in the back. We are just like machines, and if the machine doesn't stop, we can't stop, Sun Xiaoxiao explained to Li Yan. I got it. Do you think my speed is okay? Li Yan quickly pressed on the workpiece, accumulating some pressure in front of her, fortunately not too much. Sun Xiaoxiao nodded confidently and said, as long as you don't have too much backlog in front of you, and your thumb will hurt for a few days, just get used to it in the future. This bit of hardship is nothing. Who is more tired than chopping firewood, carrying water, and cutting grass at home? The effort put in is nothing, Li Yan said nonchalantly. Sun Xiaoxiao smiled all over his face and didn't say anything more. He quickly picked up the workpiece on the assembly line and began to get busy. Hi, beautiful woman, we're meeting again. Li Yan glanced at the place where the sound came from and saw Xing, who was diagonally opposite, smiling at her. Li Yan blushed and nodded lightly to show her response to Xing. How about it? Are you still used to it? Work is simple, but long hours can be tiring. Xing still looked helpless. Li Yan just smiled at Xing and remained silent. Let me tell you, we will have another layer of relationship in the future. Colleagues. Don't be so reserved, talk and chat while doing. This job is already boring and tiring. If you don't say a word, it feels like time has been taken longer. I'm afraid you'll go crazy over time. Yixing quickly pressed the iron lid while talking to Li Yan. What are you pushing around there again? You're such a shameless toad. Our factory flower doesn't pay attention to you and wants to get close to the new beauty. Even if you don't pee and shine like yourself, how could you have the courage to get close to someone just because of their beauty, Shaoli? Are you handsome? Are you a little fresh meat? Are you rich? Are you talented? They get close on their first day of work, do you want to be shameless? Do you want to lose face? I feel ashamed for you. Lu Irma sneered for a while. Lu Irma, the leader of the assembly line, is responsible for arranging work tasks on the assembly line, managing worker discipline, and so on. As the second person at home, he is full of pockmarks, and everyone calls him Lu Irma. Wang Meili is his crush, and because Yixing often looks at Wang Meili unintentionally, Lu Irma is very jealous of Yixing and often looks for opportunities to squeeze him. Yixing was finally provoked and couldn't tolerate it anymore. He retorted, "What's bothering you when I talk to her? I don't deserve to get close to her, so you deserve it. What are your strengths? Is it your pockmarked face?" Lu Irma was completely annoyed by Yixing, like a sick and crazy dog, constantly cursing and running around the assembly line towards Yixing. Yixing even stood up when he saw this. "Say it again, you grass mud horse." Lu Irma ran to Yixing and punched him hard in the face. Yixing also saw this and flashed his hands protecting his head to the side, causing Lu Irma to miss out. He was not satisfied and then kicked Yixing again. Yixing couldn't dodge and was kicked in the chest. He immediately bounced out, knocking down a large area of female colleagues around him. Suddenly, screams echoed everywhere, and Yixing quickly stood up to kick Lu Irma back, but was caught by a male colleague who rushed in. Lu Irma still wanted to launch an attack, but was persuaded by his colleagues who arrived. "Forget it, Xing Huan, stop fighting. If something happens later, it won't be good for you," advised his colleague. "Leader, forget it. When the director finds out, it's not good for anyone," everyone advised. Yixing calmed down and had no intention of taking action again. However, Lu Irma pointed at him fiercely and said, "Be careful when you finish work tonight. You will be fined 200 yuan for talking during working hours." Yixing remained unyielding and said coldly, "I was scared so much. I'll accompany you to the end, whatever you want. Punish me 200. How much will you be fined for hitting someone during work hours? If you dare to deduct 1 point from me, I will take your life. Don't just talk tough, kid, wait." Lu Irma pointed fiercely at Yixing Huan. "Grandpa is here, what did you do to me?" Yixing still held his head high without fear. Lu Irma kept pointing at Yixing and sneered, "I hope you can still be so stubborn after work. After work tonight, I won't let you call me grandpa. You are my grandpa. Hey, you unfilial grandson, you kicked your grandfather. Be careful not to be struck by lightning." Yixing laughed heartily. After hearing this, Lu Irma was furious and prepared to charge towards Yixing again. Fortunately, he was stopped and persuaded by everyone. "You can say a little less," Sun Xiaoxiao advised beside her. "Yeah, stop talking, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself?" Li Yan supported Yixing and asked. "I'm fine, it's okay. Fighting has been a common occurrence from childhood to adulthood. He couldn't hurt me with that foot, so you should go back to your post." Yixing also took a photo of the place where Lu Irma had kicked me. "Everyone has dispersed, let's all go back to their own positions. The work pieces to be processed are piled up in a mountain, affecting the progress of the products." "Everyone is unlucky," someone shouted. Lu Irma pointed fiercely at Yixing and said, "You wait." Yixing gave him a sideways glance and snorted coldly as he returned to his seat. "What are you bothering him for? His brother is a notorious little thug and scoundrel in our company. What if they stop you on the way after work? Otherwise, after work, we'll go explore the way for you and make sure no one cuts the way before you go back, Sun Xiaoxiao said to Yixing with concern. Yes. 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 Let's go ahead and explore the way for you, and give you a message. Li Yan agreed. Where did you hear the gossip? Even if he's a little thug, what's wrong? I'm afraid of him, little thug. Yixing was still full of disdain. You haven't been here long, you're not sure. Previously, Lu Irma had a crush on a woman online, and she fell in love with a man in the second workshop. Lu Irma asked his brother to find someone to beat up the man, and the next day, the man and the woman online resigned. If they couldn't afford it, they hid. So I asked you to also avoid it. If a hero doesn't take immediate losses, don't confront them head-on. Leave the Green Mountains behind and don't be afraid of burning firewood, Sun Xiaoxiao advised. Am I afraid of them now? Can they still take my life for such a small matter? So it's okay. You don't have to think too much. At most, they can beat me up a lot, and I'll fight back. So it's okay, you guys go home after work. Yixing said with a nonchalant expression. Even if you don't lose your life, there is still a risk of getting beaten up. What if you make a mistake and become mentally disabled, like a vegetative person? If it's really like that, your life will be over. Just listen to my advice, we heroes won't suffer immediate losses. Sun Xiaoxiao said anxiously. Yeah. Xiaoxiao is right. Li Yan also urged urgently. Alright, I know you all think for me. If you dare to help me in the face of danger, I am very touched. You are really friends. The more I do this, the less I can burden you. After work, you still go home as usual, don't worry about me, Yixing said while processing the workpiece. If you still treat us as friends, just do as we say. Let's go ahead and help you explore the wind, Sun Xiaoxiao insisted. Exploring the wind is definitely not possible. Will it not be laughed at by others when it comes out? I will definitely be laughed at by them, and they will say that I have no ability to be afraid of them and actually want a woman to explore the wind. Yixing kept waving his hands. Don't act impulsively, okay? Who knows if we don't talk? We are weak and we will definitely not be able to compete with them, Sun Xiaoxiao insisted. Xiaoxiao is right, just listen to her. Li Yan looked at Yixing with a soft expression on her face. Yixing still looked at their resolute appearance and couldn't bear to argue with them anymore. So he said, alright, let's go together. If you really encounter them causing trouble, hurry up and help me report to the police. Sun Xiaoxiao and Li Yan glanced at each other, but they had no better choice but to reluctantly agree. You're such a brainless person. There's nothing we can do about you. Let's go together after work. Sun Xiaoxiao said with a smile. Chapter 4. Being Beaten. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The long day has finally come to an end, and the day and night shifts are handing over their work. The person who finishes work is like a newly released prisoner being reborn. The people at work are all disheartened and tired, like prisoners about to be imprisoned. This is real life. It is the fate of most people, a group of people who cannot even enjoy the 996 blessings. Yixing, please wait for us at the door. We'll change our clothes and come out immediately, Sun Xiaoxiao reminded. Okay, I'll change my clothes and wait for you at the garage door. Yixing changed his clothes and went to the garage. He pressed the unlock button on the remote control, and the electric car creaked twice. He crossed the seat with one leg, rode on the electric bike seat, inserted the key, turned it to the start position, turned on the power, and turned the switch. The electric bike, like a wild donkey, jumped out of the shed in one go. Yixing has not yet waited for Sun Xiaoxiao to laugh at them. He is worried that if something unexpected happens, he will blame himself. Besides, there's really something that two girls can't help but instead become a burden on him. Xing was still riding his treasure donkey and running wildly on the road, except for the piercing feeling of the cold wind. He didn't notice anything unusual for the time being. The cold wind whizzed in his ear, like a knife cutting through his ears. He suddenly heard the sound of a motorcycle slamming the accelerator behind him, and in the blink of an eye, two motorcycles sandwiched him between them. "Stop, stop, do you hear the grass mud horse asking you to stop?" The people on both sides of the motorcycle roared with grim faces. These are two Prince-style motorcycles, running parallel to Xing at the same speed. They have fierce eyes, face full of flesh, average height, one on the right is slightly thinner, and the left is slightly chubby. Xing was still twisting the steering wheel hard, trying to make the electric bike accelerate rapidly and shake them off. He just turned it twice before realizing that he was riding an electric bike. Even if he turned the steering wheel 100 times, the speed would not exceed 30 miles per hour. The fat and skinny saw that Xing had not yet stopped. The skinny man held the handlebar with his right hand and reached into his arms with his left hand, pulling out a steel pipe about 30 centimeters long and swinging it towards Xing. Xing also squeezed the brakes with both hands as he saw the situation. The front and rear wheels of the electric car locked together, and a long scream echoed in the air. A long black mark was dragged out on the ground, and the smell of tire burning was mixed in the air. Xing then stepped out with his left foot, tilted the electric bike to the left, released the brakes with both hands, and turned the handle all the way. The electric bike turned 180 degrees in an instant, and he was stunned by the effect of driving the electric bike into a stunt car. Xing rode the electric bike in the opposite direction and continued to soar. When the motorcycle rider reacted, the motorcycle had already rushed forward for several tens of meters, and the two hurriedly put the brakes to a stop. Due to the heavy weight of the motorcycle, it was impossible to turn around like Xing did, so he had to get off the car and slowly push it around. After completing this series of actions, Xing had already passed through the traffic lights and disappeared. After passing through the traffic lights, Xing made a few random turns. Seeing no signs of motorcycles around, he slowed down with peace of mind and wanted to shake them off, preparing to turn right at the intersection ahead and go home. Just as I was about to turn right, a Pusan suddenly rushed out and tilted Xing away from the roadside. Then 3 people got off the car, each holding a guy, including Lu Irma. Xing threw the car away and ran away as soon as he saw the situation. Lu Irma and others followed suit and shouted, "Sun Tzu, don't run away. Aren't you very stubborn this morning? Stop and let's talk. Do you tell me not to run or not? Do you think I'm as stupid and obedient as you are? What did you call me in front of so many people this morning?" Xing gasped and laughed wildly. "Ma Lu Gobi, I'll catch you later. If I don't hit you, you'll be looking for teeth everywhere," Lu Irma scolded angrily. Under the stimulation of Xing's language, they chased even crazier. Xing occasionally turned back to look at the distance between them, getting closer and closer. "It seems that I still lack exercise in my daily life, and Xing can't run even after running a few hundred meters." He thought to himself that this was over, and he couldn't avoid being beaten by a hammer this time. Not long after, those 2 motorcycles also caught up, and Xing had no choice but to cross the green belt and run towards the lake. The motorcyclist stopped when he saw there was no way ahead, put down the support frame, and set up his bike to chase after Xing. At this moment, the sky was already dark and the street lights were already on. Those unseen things were happening in every dark corner of this city. Suddenly, Xing slipped under a loose lawn and fell to the ground. Upon seeing this, Lu Irma pounced on Xing like a fierce tiger. Other helpers also rushed forward, pressing their hands and feet. Xing was still unable to move immediately. In no time, the 2 men riding motorcycles also arrived, and a man with a scar on his face ordered, "You too, pull him up for me." 2 men riding motorcycles immediately went over, one of whom grabbed Xing's arm and pulled him up from the lawn to face Scar Man. "Are you having trouble with my younger brother? Do you dare to scold him? Scar Man asked contemptuously. He was the one who first offended and humiliated me in front of so many people, mocking me, Xing retorted. Oh, at this point, you still have a hard mouth, said the Scar Man as he slapped Xinghuan's face. Xing suddenly felt a patch of Venus in front of him, with a burning pain on his face. It is useless to reason in front of evil forces. If everything can be solved through reason, there will be no more injustice in the world. The world will truly be fair, and there will be no more oppression. They rely on a large number of people and the power of inequality to oppress the weak, force them to submit, in order to achieve their goals. Your mother, we can fight with each other if we have the ability. You can bully others depending on the number of people. You are nothing in the world. Xing also has scarlet eyes and curses angrily at the top of his voice. Lu Irma takes a quick step over, boom. He slapped Xing a few times in the face and said, I see you're still showing off. After slapping these few people, Xinghuan's mouth was bleeding, but he still glared at them angrily. If you call me grandpa today and then crawl under my pants, our matter will be settled in one fell swoop, Lu Irma sneered. Everyone burst into laughter upon hearing this, and some even took out their phones to record the moment. Fuck off your mother's dog fart, I'm so proud of you. I won't let you humiliate me like this. Today, I'll fight with you. Xing used all his strength to break free from the two of them who were holding him, and rushed towards Lu Irma with lightning speed. There was no time for everyone to react. After knocking Lu Irma down, Xing forcefully grabbed his hair and smashed it onto the lawn. Fortunately, it was the lawn, leaving only a small hole on the ground. If it were a cement field, those few moments ago would have made one a vegetative even if they didn't die. These few times were enough for Lu Irma to suffer, his face completely devoid of the previous arrogance, and he kept making cries for help while holding his head in both hands. After the other few people reacted, they quickly came over and wanted to pull Xing away from Lu Irma. No matter how hard they tried, Xing desperately grabbed Lu Irma's hair and didn't let go. Xing still understood in his heart that with so many people, they couldn't avoid being beaten up today. Even if they were killed, they would have to take a back seat, and if they suffered losses, they couldn't afford to take advantage of Lu Irma. Xing kept desperately pulling on Lu Irma's hair, and when they pulled, Lu Irma let out a pig-like howl. Brother, help me, my scalp has been pulled off by this bastard. Lu Irma cried out to Scar for help. Wait a moment, don't drag anymore. You two go and press his hand for me, you press his leg. Scar ordered the three of them. The three of them followed suit, and Scar Man came to Xinghuan and took out a sheep horn hammer from his arms, hitting Xinghuan's hand. Bang! With a muffled sound, Xinghuan's left hand immediately loosened. A piercing pain quickly spread through Xinghuan's arm and into his brain. Is your hand hard or this hammer hard? As soon as he finished speaking, there was a muffled sound, and the hammer hit his right back firmly. Ah! Xing could no longer resist the piercing pain and shouted loudly. After Xinghuan's hand was released, Lu Irma took the opportunity to kick him aside, shook his head, stood up, picked up the wooden stick that had fallen beside him, and waved it wildly towards Xinghuan. Scar Man stood next to him, while the other three also picked up wooden sticks, steel pipes, and other weapons and threw them wildly at Xinghuan. Xing endured the excruciating pain, hugging his head with both arms and gritting his teeth without letting out any more mournful cries. All right, just teach him a lesson, don't beat him to death, Scar Man said to his subordinates. Although they are bullies, they dare not cause harm to anyone, after all, they are not people who know everything. A few people immediately stopped, and after Lu Irma stopped, he kicked Xinghuan's abdomen hard. Scar walked up to Xinghuan and kicked his curled-up body with his foot, saying, Scar, is known as Scar Brother in the martial arts world. The Wanghu area is all my territory, and when you see me in the future, you will call me Scar Lord. In the future, show more respect to my younger brother and let me know that you are disrespectful to him. I will see you hitting you again and again. We still need to pay a monthly protection fee of 1,500 to protect you from being beaten by us." Everyone burst into laughter upon hearing this, while Xing remained silent and curled up on the ground. "My big brother is giving you a lecture. Did you hear me? Don't pretend to be dead there." The skinny motorcycle rider kicked again. Xing remained motionless. "Pretend to be dead, right?" Lu Irma said while kicking Xing with both feet. "If you have the guts, just kill me. If you don't kill me, I'll do it." Xing roared hoarsely. "Hey, you're really tough. It seems like I won't leave you any memory." "You don't know how many eyes Lord Ma has," Scar said as he pulled out a dagger from his waist. As Scar crouched down and extended his dagger towards Xing's mouth, the piercing sound of police sirens came to mind on the roadside. "Big brother, hurry up. The patrol is here," everyone shouted in unison. "Yeah, brother, let's go. Today is his lucky day, let's deal with him when there's a chance." "Let's go," Lu Irma followed suit. "Kid, you're lucky today, but you may not be as lucky next time. Be careful in the future, let's go." Scar thrust his dagger back into his waist. Scar and his group had just run away when Sun Xiaoxiao, Li Yan, and the patrol found Xing. Li Yan and Sun Xiaoxiao quickly helped Xing up, but Xing still endured the pain and gritted his teeth without saying a word. "They're still not human. With such a heavy attack, I can't even recognize who you are when I see you being beaten," Li Yan said with difficulty. Xing's entire face was swollen, his hands were also swollen, and the injuries on his body were not visible. Only by going for an examination did he know that the injuries had not affected his internal organs. "How about, can you still hear us clearly? Do you want to take you to the hospital first?" the patrol officer asked. "You can hear me, it's all skin injuries," Xing replied vaguely with a swollen face like a pig's head. "You don't have a good spot all over your body, is that okay? Do you don't want to live anymore? Hurry up and go to the hospital for a check. Up." Sun Xiaoxiao also looked eager. Li Yan also nodded anxiously, urging Xing to go to the hospital as soon as possible, but Xing insisted on going to the patrol room first to explain the situation clearly. Sun Xiaoxiao couldn't resist him, so they had to follow him to the patrol room first. "Then come with us," the inspector said coldly. Chapter 5. Beauty's Friend. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xing and the others got into the patrol car and arrived at the entrance of the patrol room after more than 10 minutes. The entrance is solemn and dignified, with eye-catching slogans written on both sides of the doorpost. "Punish evil and serve the people. You two go back first. We need to ask about the case. It's not appropriate for you to follow in," an inspector said to Li Yan's two sisters. "Do you think he can enter on his own like this? We need to support him." Sun Xiaoxiao worried. "You don't have to worry about this, as we have many people, there will be someone to help him. Let's leave it all to us," the patrol officer smiled at them. Xing also moved away from their hands and said with a slightly swollen mouth, "You don't have to worry about me when you go back first. It's really just a skin injury, believe me. If something happens, can I still stand here?" Sun Xiaoxiao and Li Yan stood still, wanting to say something, but were still stopped by Xing. He waved his hand to let them go, and then he limped along with the patrol towards the room. After entering the inquiry room, the patrol officer said coldly, "Do you know the name of the person who hit you? Why did they hit you?" Xing also recounted the process of the incident. After understanding the situation, the patrol registered Xing's identity information and phone number, and then said coldly, "Go to the hospital first to check for any internal injuries. We will summon the attacker, and we will contact you to handle it when we have news. Make a good record." Xing just walked out of the patrol room, and Sun Xiaoxiao and his two sisters greeted him. Didn't I ask you to go back? You've gone crazy waiting outside for over an hour on such a cold day. Xing was still angry and angry. Li Yan lowered her head and remained silent. Sun Xiaoxiao roared, "We are worried about you. If you don't appreciate us and still scold us, who do you think you are?" Xing lowered his voice and said, "I'm sorry. I'm too excited, I'm afraid I might freeze you all." Li Yanro said softly, "All right, don't even say it anymore. It's so cold, let's hurry back." After the argument ended, they took a taxi and went straight back to Li Yanxuan's and Sun Xiaoxiao's residence. "You look like your face is swollen like a pig's head, and your hands are also like pig's hooves. Why don't you go to the hospital?" Sun Xiao said angrily with a smile. "Hurry up. Take off your clothes and see where you've hurt yourself." Li Yan also hurriedly said. "No need, this injury won't hurt me. Just take a nap," Xing said nonchalantly. "Don't brag there, you think you're a god. Hurry up and take off your clothes, let's show you." Sun Xiaoxiao said as he was about to go pick up Xinghuan's clothes. Xing watched as Sun Xiaoxiao pounced and quickly dodged to the side. He pushed his hands forward and signaled to pause. "Okay. You stop, I'll do it myself." After taking off her clothes, Xing still had no good spot on her entire back, chest, and abdomen, all blue and purple, and there were areas of swelling. Sun Xiaoxiao and Li Yan couldn't help but shed tears when they looked at them. Xing comforted and said, "All right, stop crying. Don't worry, I'm really okay. My bones are amazing. When I was a child, I broke my arm while climbing a tree and didn't go to see a doctor to heal myself. So this little injury is really not a problem for me. Just take a nap and it will be fine. If you don't believe it, you can see tomorrow." The sisters wiped their tears and knew that Xing was still making them happy. Li Yan complained, "When is the time to talk big? I really didn't lie to you. Although it hurt when I was beaten, I can really recover quickly on my own. If I don't believe it, I'll show you." Xing ran around the hall and punched a few times. Sun Xiaoxiao and Li Yan were amused to tears when they saw Xinghuan's comical actions. "You're really a weirdo, you look really better, it's a bit unbelievable," Sun Xiaoxiao said with a surprised expression on her face. "I'm not sure what's going on, maybe my physique is different from others, or I was born to be beaten and resistant," Xing even joked to himself. "You really have a big heart. You're still in a joking mood after suffering such a heavy injury," Li Yan continued, "You sit down and rest for a while, I'll go cook for you." "Sister, I'll help you." Sun Xiaoxiao prepared to follow into the kitchen. "No need, I'll finish the meals for the three of them in a little while. Can you chat with him for a while? We're not going faster together." "What are we chatting with him for? He's made of copper and iron, and several people hitting him feels like tickling. You watch TV yourself, my sister and I will cook." Sun smiled and walked into the kitchen. "Don't worry about me, you've worked hard and come to eat again." Xing also put on his clothes, moved his arms, twisted his waist, clenched his fists, touched his face, and felt much better. From childhood to adulthood, whether in a fight or mischievous behavior, one can miraculously recover from being injured when waking up. Is there a genetic mutation? Or was it infused with spiritual protection by which master? Or perhaps you are the chosen son of heaven. Xing was still sitting on the sofa, laughing to himself. Cooking with 2 people is fast, it takes over 20 minutes to prepare 3 dishes and 1 soup. I didn't have time to buy fresh vegetables, so I'll just make do with it today, Li Yan said gently. This is already very rich for me. Xing picked up his chopsticks and began to pick up the vegetables. By the way, where did you put your car? I forgot to ask in a hurry just now. Oh, our car is on the same side as yours. I have already asked Xiaoma to take his other friend and help us ride back, Sun Xiaoxiao replied. It's still thoughtful of you, but unfortunately you're women, otherwise I would definitely bow down to you. It's enough to have a bosom friend in life. I will have 2 bosom friends of your sisters soon. It's really my blessing. You treat me so well, I will definitely repay you when I become rich in the future. Xing exclaimed excitedly. Whoever wants you to repay, as long as you live well, don't keep killing yourself, and we will be very happy. I told you to wait with us for a while but you didn't listen, like a stubborn donkey, Sun Xiaoxiao scolded. There was a hint of displeasure on Li Yan's face. Li Yan had a liking for him, but he treated her like a brother. I won't mention the past, this time I did something wrong. You've worked hard, come on, I'll give each of you a chicken leg to apologize for. Sun Xiaoxiao received the chicken leg that Xing had even picked up and chuckled loudly, while Li Yan smiled reluctantly. For the sake of your sincere attitude of admitting your mistake, let me spare you this time. What can be done later? Will they give up easily? Sun Xiaoxiao asked with concern. Since I have reported to the police, they will definitely find them, and they shouldn't cause trouble for me in the short term, Xing analyzed. They scoundrels can do anything and have to be cautious. It's better to be careful in the future. Don't argue with Lu Irma anymore, and can't you take care of this injury for a few days? We'll take your leave and explain the situation to the director, Li Yan said. It's okay, you don't have to worry. I grabbed Lu Irma's head and smashed it several times on the ground. At least he needs a mild concussion. If he dares to provoke trouble, I'll let him taste the taste of a severe concussion again, Xing said disdainfully. He continued, there's no need to take a leave. Look at me, my body is as strong as a cow. I'm so lively, why bother taking a leave? Xing also stood up, walked to the center of the living room and played some monkey fists, making their sisters laugh. Alright, stop playing with monkeys there and eat now. Eat well and rest early. Don't go back tonight. You sleep in my sister's bedroom, my sister and I sleep together, so we can go to work together tomorrow morning and have some care, said Sun Xiaoxiao. Xing's heart was still shaken. Is there any story going to happen? I didn't expect someone like Yi to have such good luck at such a young age. God is not thin on me. Is this about flying together like wings? But Xing quickly extinguished these thoughts and began to fall into deep self-blame. How could he have such shameless thoughts? Although one of the sisters is cute and the other is beautiful, they can't have such dirty ideas. After some self-reflection, Xing's rapidly beating heart gradually calmed down. Hey, why are you so lost in thought? Why didn't you say anything? Sun Xiaoxiao touched Xing's arm several times before he regained his composure. He pretended to be calm and said, this is not suitable. As a big man, I live with you in the same room. It's rumored that it's not good for your reputation, so I'll just sit down and go home. If you want to stay, then just stay. Why is there so much nonsense? What if Lu Irma and the others are waiting for you at your doorstep? Go back and get beaten up again. Besides, we are not afraid of shadows being crooked. Even if you have any thoughts, can your injured body beat us? Sun Xiaoxiao joked. Li Yan covered her mouth and chuckled, saying, Xiaoxiao makes sense. Stay here tonight. Yi, how could you be so kind to me? If you treat me so well, then I would be more respectful than obedient. Xing also turned so quickly that the sisters giggled. Xing felt another wave of self-blame in his heart. They were so kind to him, but he still had unhealthy thoughts about them. He was so inhuman. Actually, from the perspective of zoology, it is normal for him to have such thoughts just now, and this impulse is innate. As long as a normal man faces the opposite sex, especially a beautiful opposite sex, he will have autonomous impulses. Without these thoughts, he is abnormal, at least in terms of male function. But he is a human, not a beast. He is bound by the morality of the world, suppressing these ideas. If there is no moral restraint, how is he different from a beast? This is the difference between humans and beasts. People are called humans because they cannot do things like beasts. After everything was figured out, he felt relieved and decided to stay. Don't be so naughty there, you'll just talk nonsense, Sun Xiaoxiao said. Li Yan also pursed her lips and smiled, saying, come on, take off your coat and pants, and I'll wash them for you. How do you wear them when they're dirty on top? No need, I'll go back tomorrow morning and change into a new outfit. No need to trouble you, you've been tired all day. Let's rest earlier. Oh, why don't you wash her? My sister is a diligent and cheerful person. If you don't wash her, she won't be able to sleep. Sun Xiaoxiao said and went to pick up Yi Xinghuan's clothes. Okay, I'll do it myself. I'm sorry to trouble you too much. I'll go inside. Yi Xing walked towards the bedroom. In no time, the bedroom door opened slightly, and Li Yan was already waiting at the door. Yi Xing also handed out his clothes and pants, here. Could you please? Li Yan smiled and picked up her clothes and pants as she walked towards the bathroom. Yi Xing shouted outside the door, if it's inconvenient for me, I won't talk to you. I'll go to bed first. Got it, sleep with you, Sun Xiaoxiao replied. Yi Xing was still lying in bed, smelling the fragrance of the bed. He thought it must be the scent left by one of them, tossing and turning, making it difficult to fall asleep. He heard the sound of hands rubbing clothes from the bathroom. What a good girl. A good girl who goes up in the hall and down in the kitchen. Did you really fall in love with me when you put down your body and washed my clothes the second time we met? Yi Xing was still muttering to himself. Maybe I overthought it, maybe it was because of Sun Xiaoxiao's enthusiasm. Thinking about Yi Xing gradually falling asleep. Chapter 6. This fight was a waste. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Yi Xing was still asleep when he was awakened by a loud knocking on the door. Brother Yi, I'll hang your clothes on the doorknob for you. Take them in, put them on, and come out for breakfast. Li Yan said softly. Thank you. You've worked hard. Yi Xing was still moved in his heart. When he wakes up and looks at his watch, it's only after 6 o'clock. What time does he have to wake up so early to prepare breakfast? This girl is really diligent. He never cooked breakfast. He bought 2 steamed stuffed buns on his way to work and made 2 tea egg. Yi Xing also came to the table and said, you're really clever. Toast and egg tarts, and fresh milk with fruit, that's quite creative. I see these things in the refrigerator. When I'm at home, I read some breakfast magazines and just draw gourds and gourds. If the taste is good, you can just make do with it. It's delicious and delicious. You eat it too, where's Xiaoxiao? Yi Xing swallowed an egg tart in one gulp. You eat first, Xiaoxiao is washing up. Once it's done, come over. Li Yan suddenly exclaimed in surprise, ah. Brother Yi, your face has really improved completely. The lump on your face has completely disappeared. Sun Xiaoxiao heard a scream and ran out of the bathroom with a swift step, looking at Yi Xinghuan with a surprised expression on his face. Your face. Too magical, really good. What you said is true, you didn't lie to us. How could this be? I can't see any swelling on my face, and all the bruises have disappeared. Sun Xiaoxiao casually touched him. Does it hurt? Do you feel anything? Sun Xiaoxiao pinched Yi Xinghuan's face. Hey. Be gentle, good people hurt so much. Yi Xing also moved Sun Xiaoxiao's hand away. The two of them looked at Yi Xinghuan in disbelief, both believing that he was a peerless master in the movie, a genius with amazing bones, a rare encounter in 100 years, and a master among thousands. Yi Xing looked at their incredulous eyes and said arrogantly, I believe I'm not bragging now. I'm a pure and honest person. Sun Xiaoxiao and Li Yan stared at Yi Xinghuan without turning their eyes, nodding confidently, convinced that there must be some big secret in Yi Xinghuan. After all, this is too much beyond their understanding, it's just like a myth. After a while, they finally regained their senses. Li Yan gave a thumbs up and said, "Brother Yi is really amazing." Sun Xiaoxiao also raised his thumb and nodded repeatedly. Yi Xing looked at Li Yan's delicate face and said, "Don't call me one big brother on the left and one big brother on the right. Just call me by my name, it's all because my friends and big brothers feel strange." "Oh, Brother Yi, no, Yi Xing is still here." Li Yan let out a hesitant cry. "That's it. Once I finish eating, hurry up and eat. You'll be late later." Yi Xing left the dining table and sat down in front of the sofa. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Yi Xing and his team had already arrived at the assembly line, preparing for a busy and tedious day of work. He scanned around and didn't find Lu Irma. He was arrested by the patrol room. Just as his phone was ringing, he took it out of his pocket and pressed the connect button, saying, "Hello, who is there?" From the microphone came. "Is it Yi Xing? I'm Inspector Guo from the patrol room. Last night, you reported that someone had beaten you, right? Now the person who hit you has been summoned to the patrol room, so come over." "Okay. I'll go over right away." He hung up the phone and got up to walk towards the workshop director's office. After explaining the reason to the workshop director, he rode an electric bike towards the direction of the patrol room. After arriving at the Hu Yuan patrol room, I parked my car and registered with the guard. I asked the guard about the office of Inspector Guo and walked straight towards his office. Dong! 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 I knocked on the door a few times and the sound of coming in came from inside. Yi Xing pushed the door open and saw Lu Irma sitting on a nearby stool. In front of the desk sat a middle-aged man in his 40s, wearing a uniform and a patrol hat. Inspector Guo looked at the intact Yi Xinghuan and turned his head to look at Lu Irma with a puzzled expression. Why is it different from what Lu Irma described? It doesn't match the transcript either. It is clearly recorded that he has been injured, with obvious swelling on his face and hands. Isn't the person in front of him okay? He even wants to personally touch and verify it. Lu Irma looked at Yi Xinghuan incredulously as if he had eaten a dead fly. Fortunately, it was during the day, and if it were at night, he would have thought he had encountered a ghost. Inspector Guo thought it would be better to save him from using his brain more. He asked Yi Xing to sit down and ask, "Did you go to the hospital? Did you have a check-up?" "I didn't go to the hospital." Yi Xing sat down next to Lu Irma. "I have reviewed your transcript last night and just asked Lu Irma about it. Lu Irma said you knocked his head off, and now he's still dizzy, is that so?" Inspector Guo asked. "Did I damage him? He found a thug and beat me up among the 5 of them, and even said I damaged him. Do we still have to compensate him?" Yi Xing said emotionally. "Pay attention to your tone when speaking. This is not your home. I asked you to come to assist in the investigation, not to yell and shout. If you have something to say, please speak carefully." "What are you shouting about?" Inspector Guo scolded with a higher decibel tone. "Good. Good. Your territory is up to you. What results do you think the investigation has yielded? How to deal with this matter?" Yi Xing still stared at Inspector Guo. "Before you came, I also inquired about the situation with Lu Irma. Lu Irma said that the other 4 people were all his relatives and came to reason with you to resolve the dispute. The 4 of them did not take any action but only tried to persuade." Inspector Guo said expressionlessly. "Persuasion. This is your investigation result. How do you plan to close the case?" Yi Xing snorted coldly. "If everything is okay, just reconcile and be careful next time. If you are not satisfied, go to the hospital for an injury examination. If it constitutes intentional injury, file a case and sentence it. If it is not enough to sentence it, it will be detained in a crowd fight. You can choose it yourself, said Inspector Guo coldly. At this moment, Xing gradually understood and asked himself if he had any intention of going to the hospital for a check-up. Now that my injury has healed without leaving any evidence, my mute has eaten Huanglian. This is not a place to argue right and wrong. This is forcing him to submit. He is a plain-headed commoner who doesn't have the energy and financial resources to tinker with. The fair balance was artificially shifted towards Lu Irma's side, even overturning the scale. Xing still doesn't know what connection Lu Irma has with this patrol officer, but the fool can also see that he is helping Lu Irma speak, so it seems that this beating was in vain. I was thinking that I would have to compensate him for his nutrition expenses and apologize for not only detaining them for a few days. Now, let's not talk about sentencing and detention. It seems like we can forget about the nutritional expenses. Where should we go for a check-up after all the injuries on our bodies have healed? This mute loser is guaranteed. Xing was still in a daze when he heard Inspector Guo say again, you can discuss and decide which path to take yourself. He calmly analyzed the current situation, which was very unfavorable to himself. He decided that the hero would not suffer immediate losses. He would first take note of this revenge and will definitely repay it 10 times in the future. Xing gritted his teeth and said, I don't need to be tested for my injury. Although I was injured even more severely, considering that it was my colleague who looked up but couldn't see me, he just apologized sincerely. Inspector Guo nodded at Lu Er and said, what did you say? I apologized to him. Look at him hitting my head, there's still a bag left. Lu Irma wanted to poke his hair open for Inspector Guo to see, but Officer Guo glared angrily at him. I'm sorry, Lu Irma said 3 words to Xing without any emotion. Alright, shake your hands, and the previous conflict will be written off. When you go back, work hard and don't cause trouble again. We will definitely punish you severely next time. Inspector Guo showed a smile on his face. Xing said expressionlessly, I can go now. Just sign here and it's feasible. Inspector Guo pointed to the case report placed on his desk. After Xing signed, he left, feeling very helpless and frustrated. Now that the handle of the knife is in someone's hand, I am an unarmed poor loser and cannot provoke them at all. His small arms couldn't withstand his thighs, so he temporarily held back this breath. It's not too late for a gentleman to seek revenge for 10 years. One day he will definitely come back and settle this account. After Xing left, Lu Irma flattered and said to Inspector Guo, Uncle Guo, thank you very much for your help. My brother has arranged for you to have dinner at the Tianhao Hotel at 8 p.m. tonight as a gesture of gratitude. Inspector Guo looked at him coldly and said, just don't cause me any trouble in the future. After signing, hurry up and leave. When Xing returned to the company, it was already time for lunch. He took the rice bowl to the cafeteria and prepared to find a seat to sit down. He heard Sun Xiaoxiao shouting in a corner, Xing, come here, there is a seat. He followed the sound and saw Sun Xiaoxiao, Li Yan, and several other colleagues in the factory on the table. Hey, did you go to the patrol room this morning? Lu Irma wasn't in the factory, did the patrol room arrest them all? Sun Xiaoxiao asked urgently. Grab a fart. Xing also explained in detail the experience of the patrol room to them. Why are they like this? Aren't they public servants of the people? Aren't they just serving the hard-working masses? How can black and white be reversed in broad daylight? Sun Xiaoxiao said angrily. It's not surprising, I heard that Lu Irma has a good relationship with a small leader there, so he often acts recklessly and bullies the market, committing evil deeds. One of his colleagues said. No wonder they are so bold and lawless, they are indeed related households. Even if this grudge is settled, if someone like you turns over, let's see how I deal with you. Xing gritted his teeth and said. Forget it, eat. Let's not talk about this, who can the common people with flat heads provoke? In the future, just stay away from them. If you can't afford it, can't you still avoid it? Another colleague agreed. The two sisters also want to comfort Xia Xinghua. They want to talk and stop talking. They can't help him accept words. If they say wrong, they will make him unhappy. Chapter 7. Strong Kiss of Wang Meili. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Today, someone took a leave on the testing line. The workshop director arranged for Xing to take over the top shift, which happened to be next to Wang Meili. Wang Meili, as the name suggests, is indeed beautiful. She not only has a beautiful face but also a seductive figure. She has a slender figure, skin like jade, and a silver bell-like voice. She also possesses the qualities that a beautiful woman should possess. When Xing first saw her, he thought she was the person who worried her deeply. The two of them looked so alike. When he was still in an orphanage, that girl treated him very well. At that naive age, his love affair began to open up, and although the two never confessed to each other. But Xing still couldn't forget him, and his only dream at that time was to spend the rest of his life with Xiaomengxue. The idea is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. When Xing returned to the orphanage, Xiaomengxue had already left, and no one knew her whereabouts. From then on, he lost contact with her. At that time, he just wanted to go out and see the world, but he didn't expect to be deceived, which led to him escaping back more than a year later. From then on, he searched everywhere and searched all the nearby cities, but still found nothing. When I saw Wang Meili, she was just like Xiaomengxue. Although 7 or 8 years have passed, her appearance has already been deeply engraved in Xing's mind. He didn't believe that there would be two people so similar in this world. He was convinced that Wang Meili was the long-lost Xiaomengxue, and he wanted to personally ask if the opportunity had finally come today. I can't wander around the workshop during normal work hours, and sometimes their shifts are different, one day shift and the other night shift, making it difficult to get together. Although Xing has been in the company for a month, he still hasn't had the opportunity to say a word to Wang Meili. And I heard that the supervisor of the engineering department is also chasing her, so sometimes I can only sneak a few glances at things in the testing workshop. Xing eagerly walked towards Wang Meili and sat next to her, suppressing her intense heartbeat. His heart was pounding wildly, as if 10,000 bison were passing through the prairie. He is struggling inside. Do you really want to ask? What if it's not? Will I be very disappointed? Will disappointment lead to despair? From then on, there will be no more motivation to live, and from then on, I will waste my life. Wang Meili glanced at Xing and looked puzzled, wondering why a stranger had come to her side, staring straight at her. Xing regained his senses but still didn't ask. He said 3 words in a wooden tone, "Hello. Do you see me like this?" Wang Meili's hands were like 2 robotic arms, holding the circuit board and quickly scanning under the inspection mirror, without any free time. So much work is really not good, Xing awkwardly smiled. Are you very hot? Wang Meili glanced at him again. No. Xing hesitated and said. Why are you sweating so much? Like you just took a shower. Wang Meili lowered her head and looked carefully at the circuit board in the inspection mirror. Oh. Maybe it's a bit hot here, bigger than the air conditioning in our assembly group, and I haven't adapted yet. Xing quickly wiped the sweat off his face with his clothes. Wang Meili looked at Xing with disdain. Is there something wrong with her brain? The machines in the workshop are hot enough, and she still needs to turn on the air conditioning. She asked, Are you new here? Why haven't I seen you before? He was still wiping the sweat from his forehead and hurriedly replied, Yes, it's been over a month now. Actually, I saw you on the first day I came. I passed by you and you were working hard. Is that right? No wonder I don't remember you. Wang Meili still quickly held the circuit board and inspected it under the inspection mirror, then said again, "What are you assembling on our line for?" Yixing felt a moment of disappointment in her heart. She had no impression of herself, either she was not Xiaoming Xue or she had changed, but he felt like he had never changed. Yixing replied, "The person in this position is taking a temporary leave and I will take over the shift. I am not very proficient in business, so could you please give me more guidance?" Wang Meili is a warm-hearted person, patiently explaining the workflow to him. Yixing only heard her voice and didn't hear what she was saying clearly. It's so similar. It's so similar. Even her voice is so similar, how could she not be Xiaoming Xue? His head couldn't help but lean towards Wang Meili, getting closer and closer. He smelled the fragrance of her hair and her body, all of which made him extremely intoxicated. "What are you doing? Why are you wandering around during work hours?" Yixing was pulled back to reality by the loud shout, and when he turned around, he saw a middle-aged man with a big belly and a pockmarked face standing behind him with hands behind his back. Yixing hesitated for a moment and replied, "I didn't do anything. I'll ask her some questions. Hurry up and get back to your workstation. If you dare to run around again, be careful, I'll fire you," the middle-aged man said angrily. Yixing was also worried. Shi Ke could not be humiliated. What's more, he insulted him in front of his sweetheart. He could not swallow his voice. He stood up and shouted, "Who the fuck are you? Shouting and screaming here?" The middle-aged man gasped for breath and said loudly, "I am Chief Engineer Zhu Tu, and this department is under my jurisdiction." He turned out to be the supervisor chasing after Wang Meili. Yixing also looked at Wang Meili, and Wang Meili gently shook her head, indicating that he should not confront Zhu Tu again. Yixing also looked at the chubby man in front of him, who was 1.5 meters tall and had a dog-like face. This was the real person who the toad wanted to eat swan meat. At ordinary times, he must have taken advantage of his position to make a lot of money. The whole workshop knew that he was still pestering Wang Meili. Yixing also laughed loudly in order to give Wang Meili an outlet. "Pig head, it's really like a pig. Your head on this short and fat body is really like a pig head." 30 seconds after laughing wildly, Yixing continued, "I've never heard such a funny name before, ahaha. No matter who belongs to you, I won't belong to you today. Besides, how could anyone be managed by a pig head?" Ha ha ha! The people around couldn't help but chuckle, and Wang Meili gently tugged at Yixing Huan's hem, signaling him not to say anything more. Yixing also turned his head to look at Wang Meili and gently shook his head, indicating that it was okay. Zhu Tu's face turned purple with anger and he exclaimed, "Where is the length of the line? What is the length of this line?" The line leader happened to come back from the restroom when he heard Zhu Tu calling out to him. He quickly came over to see what happened. The line leader walked up to Zhu Tu and nodded and said, "Supervisor, are you looking for me? What's up?" Zhu Tu looked angrily at Yixing and said, "This is the person you're looking for. You two have been fired, get out of here immediately." The length of the line was unknown, so he trembled with fear and said, "What's wrong with the supervisor? Why are we fired? You're crazy. You think you're the boss, you can fire anyone you want. I don't believe in this evil." Yixing finished speaking and sat back in his seat. Zhu Tu didn't say anything, turned around and walked towards the end of the assembly line. The line leader seemed to understand something and quickly caught up, "Supervisor, listen to me, it's my fault. I used the wrong person, please show me your respect. My wife and children are waiting for their salary to buy rice and cook. Please don't fire me." "Oh my. Why did you offend him? He is the chief engineer of the company, and the boss spent a lot of money poaching him from another company. The boss still has to see his face," Wang Meili said anxiously. Yixing's heart sank as he finished listening, thinking that he had really hit the steel plate this time. Yixing sighed and said, "It's okay, just get fired and find a new job. Unfortunately, I won't be able to chat with you in the future, so in order to chat with you again, please tell me your phone number and address. Wang Meili looked at Xing for a few seconds and thought she had heard it wrong. She was stunned for a few more seconds before finally confirming. She smiled and said, "No way." Xing also heard the reply of these two words, like a huge needle piercing his heart, with waves of pain. If she were Xiaoming Xue, not to mention giving her address and phone number, she would not hesitate to go with him. He wouldn't give up easily and asked, "What's the point?" "As long as I can do it, I'll do it immediately. However, except for going up to Mount Dao and down to the Sea of Fire, because that way I won't be able to come back alive, and everything will become meaningless." "You're so funny, and I'm not familiar with you. Why do you always ask for someone else's phone address? Don't waste your breath here. If you keep working here, you may still become friends. Unfortunately, if you offend your supervisor, you will definitely be fired." Wang Meili shook her head lightly. As soon as Wang Meili finished speaking, a few security guards walked towards Xing, followed by Zhu Tu. Zhu Tu followed the line chief, who was still pleading. Xing also knew that the security guard was here to catch him. He immediately grabbed Wang Meili's face, bent down, kissed her, and succeeded in one go. Xing even forced a kiss on Wang Meili. Zhu Tu's face turned red and his ears turned red when he saw the situation, and he roared angrily, "Blow this bastard out of me." The security guard took 3 steps in 2 and quickly ran to Xing. A few people held Xing and dragged him towards the exit. Xing kept turning back and shouting, "Wang Meili, I love you." Wang Meili blushed and stood still in her seat for a long time. After regaining her senses, she lay on the assembly line, crying loudly. The entire workshop seemed to be frozen for a moment before thawing, causing a commotion. Some screamed, some whistled, and others looked at Xing being dragged away with envy in their eyes. This is their factory flower, the goddess of many people's dreams, and Xing did what they wanted to do but dared not do. Some people admire him, some envy him, and some hate him. A few security guards dragged Xing to the corner of the stairs and beat him up, then threw him out of the factory door. If they don't follow Zhu Tu's instructions, their jobs will also be difficult to secure, so they just put on a show and didn't give up. Xing also let go and let out a few mournful cries. "This person is not allowed to appear in my sight in the future," Zhu Tu ordered to several security guards with his hands behind his back. Several security guards stood straight and repeatedly said yes. Xing also got up from the ground, dusted off the dust on his body, and spat at Zhu Tu. The head of the security guard made a gesture of wanting to fight. After Zhu Tu left with a cold snort, the head of the security guard withdrew his hand and whispered, "Hurry up and leave. He's not something that low-level people like us can afford to provoke." Xing didn't say anything yet, turned around and left. Wang Meili gradually recovered and listened to the whispers of everyone, causing him great harm. She, a beautiful girl, was forcibly kissed by a stranger. She is usually the most beautiful flower in the factory, and has always been highly sought after and praised by everyone. She has always been a perfect image of being pure and pure. But all of this was destroyed by this stranger, and her heart was filled with anger and shame. And this is her first kiss. Zhu Tu patted her shoulder and comforted her, "Don't be sad, I have already driven him away. It's not worth getting angry and getting sick. He won't disturb you again in the future. If you still don't calm down, I'll have someone go teach him another lesson." Wang Meili lay on the workbench, sobbing softly, without paying attention to Zhu Tu. Zhu Tu placed his hands on Wang Meili's shoulders and wanted to help her up. "Let's go and rest in my office for a while. It's embarrassing to see so many people," he said. Wang Meili broke free from his hands and stood up gently, wiping the tears on her face with the back of her hand. "No need, manager. Thank you. I would like to take a day off," Wang Meili sobbed. Zhu Tu awkwardly smiled and said, "Okay, you go back and rest, adjust your mood, and come back. Wang Meili didn't say anything and ran out with one hand covering her mouth. Chapter 8. Prophecy. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xing is still riding his treasure donkey aimlessly on the empty road, and at this time, people are all in the factory, unlike the busy rush hour in the morning and evening. At this moment, he felt like a bird escaping from a cage, with a feeling of regaining freedom filling his whole body. Soaring freely like a bird, it seemed that being expelled had no effect on him at all. Instead, he was as happy as being reborn, and the shackles that bound him were finally broken free by him. He has never been as free as he is now, and he no longer has to worry about things. He does whatever he wants, and all his time is at his own discretion. No longer do you have to set an alarm to wake up early, no longer sit on the assembly line like a zombie walking on meat, no longer be called around by people. Your body and mind have never been so relaxed. From today on, he will be his own master and not another slave to others. The scene of forcefully kissing Wang Meili kept coming to Xing's mind, and at that moment, he firmly believed that Wang Meili was Xiaomengxue. Finally, he expressed his feelings to her through his actions. Although she said she didn't have much impression of herself, he still firmly believed that she and Xiaomengxue were the same person, and he didn't believe there would be two people in the world who were so similar. Xing rode his bike and unknowingly arrived at the familiar lake. Whenever he feels lost, depressed, lonely, and missing, he often sits alone in this place that carries many of his emotions. The sky is clear and cloudless for thousands of miles. Although a gentle breeze occasionally blows, under the warm sunshine, Xing still doesn't feel cold at all. The lake splashed against the shore, and the birds around him chattered incessantly. He lay on the lawn and began to recall the days of the welfare home. His close allies, as well as Xiaomengxue, showcased their beautiful past scenes before our eyes under the warm sunshine. I gradually feel drowsy. He soon fell asleep, and it was the same place in his dream. However, day had turned into night, and there was no one around who was very quiet. The silence was suffocating. At night, the lake is usually windy, and even on a cloudless day, there cannot be no movement at all, let alone at night. While Xing was still feeling strange, he suddenly saw a golden light flying towards him in the southeast night sky. This scared him so much that he instinctively started running as fast as he could, using as much force as he could. At this moment, he really wished he could tie 2 rockets to his legs. His first reaction was that it was a meteorite, and if it hit him at such a speed, he couldn't even find any dust. He thought he wouldn't be so unlucky. He lost his job during the day and was killed by a meteorite at night, or was it the kind of ashes and smoke? It was unlucky for his mother to open the door for him and bring him home. Whether humans or animals, their instinct is to run when facing unknown dangers. How could Xing run faster than a meteorite? Just as he ran out a few tens of meters, he heard the sound of the air being scratched, followed by a loud bang, and everything was clear in front of him. Xing turned back to see a huge wave rushing towards him. Xing thought to himself that this was over, but he didn't expect to fall like this at the age of a towering pillar. Let's just fall and fall, or in this bizarre way. Be beaten to death or drowned by the lake water. I'm just taking a walk by the lake to enjoy the breeze. Oh my goodness, you don't have to play with me like this, do you? Just as Xing was still closing his eyes and preparing to accept God's arrangement, the ringing of his phone woke him up. It was Sun Xiaoxiao who called, and she roared on the phone, "Xinghuan, what do you mean? Are you still not human? I kindly introduced my sister to you. My sister is so kind to you, but you actually like a bitch. Where can't my sister compare to her? Is her body not slimmer than hers, or is her face not as good looking as hers? Is she not virtuous or gentle? You actually did such shameless things in public and even lost your job. Do you deserve me and my sister to do this?" Xing hesitated for a moment while holding the phone and said, "I don't know what to say. First of all, I am very grateful for your kindness to me, and I also appreciate your sister's respect for me. Apart from saying thank you, I have nothing to say. Also, don't scold Wang Meili in the future. Emotional matters cannot be forced. Say sorry to your sister for me. What's wrong with scolding her, isn't she? Just you idiot treats junk like a treasure. I used to hear my colleagues say that you were staring at Wang Meili with a squint, but I didn't believe it and kindly introduced my sister to you. I was really blind. Sun Xiaoxiao angrily hung up the phone. Xing put the phone into his pants pocket, shook his head and smiled bitterly at the distant lake, occasionally picking up a pebble to float. Actually, how could Xing remain indifferent to Li Yan? Faced with such a youthful and beautiful beauty, which normal man wouldn't be tempted. But he couldn't let go of Xiaomengxue in his heart. If he accepted Li Yan, it would not only be a betrayal of Xiaomengxue's feelings, but also a betrayal of Li Yan's feelings. Although he is not a gentleman, he cannot be a beast. He cannot harm others. He cannot betray the person in his heart. Xing, who was pondering, also heard a beep, which was a text message from her phone. Xing also took out his phone, which was sent by Li Yan. The text message was: I've heard about you. Come to our house for dinner tonight. We can't be lovers, we can still be friends. No matter what, I have to apologize to you. I know that everything I say now is powerless and useless. Thank you for your friendship with me. I am not a stick, I can feel it, but I did not explain my relationship with Wang Meili before. If it has caused you any harm, I am very sorry. Xing also replied. Li Yan no longer replied, and soon Sun Xiaoxiao called again. Hello, Xing answered the phone. Hello, what did you say to my sister? She kept crying and refused to speak. Send me your location and we'll come find you right away. Sun Xiaoxiao finished speaking and hung up the phone. Although the girl Sun Xiaoxiao is petite and cute, she has a strong and tough personality, and when she gets angry, she can compete with Brother Ping too. Encountering such a tough situation, Xing doesn't want to cause trouble. Quickly open WeChat and send the location over. Half an hour later, Sun Xiaoxiao led Li Yan's hand fiercely towards Xing, and Li Yan's red circles of eyes showed that she had just cried. Oh, do you have a conscience and want to jump into the lake to apologize? Sun Xiaoxiao sarcastically said. Hee. Xing also put his hands in his pockets and looked at their sisters, just smiled a little. You still have a smile on your face. How angry have you been with my sister? Let me tell you, if I don't explain everything to my sister today, I won't finish with you. Sun Xiaoxiao, with a dark face, dragged Li Yan to Xing's side. Sister, please speak slowly to him, make it clear and wait for you next to me. After she finishes speaking, she will leave. Xiaoxiao is a straightforward person. Don't be angry with her when speaking, but she has a kind heart and is also very warm-hearted, Li Yan explained for Sun Xiaoxiao. Xing still smiled and said, I know she has a sharp tongue and a heart full of tofu. Although I haven't had much contact with her, I know her to some extent. Otherwise, how could I be so familiar with her and become good friends? It's just that this incident was my fault. I was supposed to refuse to meet you from the beginning, but I don't know how to refuse to smile, afraid of losing her good friend. I'm sorry to refuse her before agreeing to meet you, which led to today's misunderstanding. But since you're here, I'll tell you the truth from my heart. You are indeed very beautiful and a good girl. You should have a better home. I have nothing that is not worth your nostalgia for. The most important thing is that I have someone I like in my heart. I can only say sorry to you. Li Yan looked at Xing and couldn't speak for a while. Tears kept slipping from the corners of her eyes and trickling down her cheeks. Xing even hugged her in the past to give her a little comfort. Li Yan suddenly felt like she was hit by an electric current, standing still and unable to move, slowly filling her heart with a warm current. She really wanted time to freeze at this moment. She didn't want this man to let go, so she kept holding holding her until the end of time. Come home with me. I don't care if you have any other woman in your heart, nor do I care if you have my place in your heart. As long as I can be by your side, I will be very happy. In fact, I fell in love with you the first time we met. Li Yan hugged Yixing tightly and said affectionately. Yixing trembled all over, hesitating for a long time. After releasing Li Yan, he looked at her charming and pitiful eyes and said, "Thank you. Thank you for looking up to me so much. My heart is no longer complete, you should find someone who loves you wholeheartedly. And now that you've lost your job, it's a problem to support yourself. I can't give you either material or spiritual support. So thank you for your love, I can't be with you." Li Yan's face was already in tears, and after a while she sobbed and said, "I don't want you to support me. I can support myself. I don't need any material possessions from you, as long as I can be with you, I will be satisfied." Yixing was also moved for a moment. He held back his tears and said, "I really appreciate you, but I can't be so selfish. This is unfair to you. You should find someone who loves you wholeheartedly and loves you, and that person is not me." Li Yan stood beside Yixing with lifeless eyes, crying and convulsing all over her body. "You go back first, don't wait to dismiss you too." Yixing waved to Sun Xiaoxiao not far away. Li Yan looked at Yixing with tears on her face for a while, then covered her mouth and cried as she turned around and left. Before Sun Xiaoxiao could walk up to them, she saw her sister run away in sadness. Sun Xiaoxiao angrily pointed at Yixing and said, "I'll settle accounts with you later. Then catch up." It is indeed cruel for Yixing to do so, but long-term pain is not as good as short-term pain. When he gradually fades away in Li Yan's heart, she will understand his difficulties. Yixing sighed and picked up a few small stones to throw into the lake. It's a pity that the girl who loves him so well appeared at the wrong time. If she had appeared before Xiaomengxue, Yixing would definitely have fallen in love with her. Chapter 9. The Emergence of Energy Rings. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 10. Crossing Time and Becoming Rich. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It was already past 2 o'clock in the morning when I returned home, and the cold air on my body gradually dissipated as I jogged along the way, creating a hazy atmosphere around my body. Yixing didn't care about changing into wet clothes. He untied the coat wrapped in a mysterious box from his body and placed it on the table. He slowly peeled off the wrapped clothes, afraid that it might explode accidentally. I only saw its true face after opening it. This square box, resembling a metal block, has an uneven surface covered with incomprehensible patterns, including triangles, circles within triangles, various unseen runes, and some humanoid patterns. It has a dark color throughout, like obsidian. There are also many irregular small holes, which constantly emit faint golden light, shining brightly inside the room. Yixing kept looking back and forth, trying to figure out what it was, but after watching for an hour, he couldn't figure it out. On the surface, the metal block looks dark and looks like a large iron block, but strangely, how could the iron block emit a golden light? So he immediately went into the kitchen and took a fruit knife, wanting to scrape it on top of the iron block to see what color it was inside. If it was golden inside, it would really make hair. Yixing also brought a knife and gently scraped the surface of the metal block. The surface of the metal block showed no reaction, not to mention scraping off a layer, leaving no scratches. Instead, he flattened the blade. Yixing was surprised and said, "So hard." He turned around and walked back to the kitchen to get a bone-chopping knife. "I hope you can still be intact with this knife," and after speaking, the knife will fall. Dang! The bone-chopping knife broke into 2 pieces, and the metal block remained unscathed with no trace left. Yixing was still dazed, staring blankly at the metal block on the table. He has never seen such a hard thing before. Even if it is so hard, a bone knife cannot break it. At most, the blade had been shattered, but it had broken into 2 pieces, and Xing stood still with a bewildered expression. Does this thing still have a mysterious power? Was this bone knife broken by the mysterious power released by this metal block? Xing muttered, then picked up the metal block and carefully observed. He touched the unknown pattern on it with his hand, and the golden light suddenly flickered in a regular pattern, as if it was breathing. When he touched a special pattern, the metal block changed and seemed to trigger its switch. Suddenly, all the golden light converged to the pattern, and then followed his fingers from the pattern into his arms until the golden light flowed throughout his body. At this moment, Xing was still shining with golden light all over his body, like a golden man cast in gold. He looked at his hands, then lowered his head to look at his entire body, all shining with golden light. He looked at his arms in terror and touched every part of his body, feeling extremely scared. What happened in front of him was beyond his understanding. He didn't understand why this was happening, he didn't know what it would bring him, he didn't know if it would harm him, and if it would take his own life. It's just that it didn't harm oneself. Now that I'm like this, how can I go out and meet people in the future? How to date and pick up girls? He was very scared and anxious, picked up the metal block and touched it everywhere, hoping to trigger the switch to retract the golden light. Even though he touched every inch of the metal block, the golden light still flickered incessantly on him. Xing became increasingly scared and eventually collapsed, kneeling on the ground. He murmured, "Oh my goodness, are you playing with me? Please let me go. God. Come on, manifest yourself." I don't know if I guessed the password correctly, but a golden light flashed past. The metal block was horizontally cut into 2 pieces, one above and the other slowly rose into the air. Xing slowly stood up and saw a golden bracelet adorned with gemstones lying inside, covered in incomprehensible runes and graphics. Like characters but not characters, like paintings but not paintings. Turns out this metal block is really a box, a special box used to hold this bracelet. Xing's eyes widened with excitement as he reached out and carefully examined the bracelet in his hand. The material of the bracelet looks like gold, but it feels different. It feels more yellow, dazzling, and shiny than gold. The gemstones embedded on it are also unique. These gemstones are beautiful and magnificent, like shrinking planets one by one. This thing is too exquisite. It must not be something from Earth. Humans cannot create such a precise and beautiful thing at this level. I don't know how much this thing is worth. I don't know who to sell it to. He's a worker, it's okay, he doesn't have any connections, and he worries about getting a good thing. After pondering for a while, he put the bracelet on his hand. When wearing the bracelet, it shrinks smaller and smaller until it fits his wrist. Xing suddenly felt his whole body filled with strength, feeling that everything in the universe was under his feet. The feeling of overlooking everything was really great, and his spirit had never been so full. His whole body's golden light slowly flowed towards the bracelet, and in the end, it was completely absorbed by the bracelet. Xing couldn't help but stroke the bracelet on his hand. It could absorb this golden light, it's amazing. The bracelet sucked all the golden light back into him, and he was very happy. If the golden light was not sucked back, his whole body would shine with gold, and it would be inconvenient for him to go out. Going out will definitely be treated as a quirky alternative, and I don't know how much glare and ridicule I will face. Xing grew more and more fond of it, constantly caressing the gemstone on it. Oh, can this gem still rotate? Can you take it down? Squeeze and pull with force, can't you pull it out? What if you press hard? This can't be pressed anymore, it seems to have triggered the mechanism again. With just one sound from Kata, a deep blue ball was pressed into the bracelet by Xing. At this moment, the sound came from somewhere, not from the ears but from the brain. The energy loop has been activated, and the energy in the universe moves with the mind, entering the testing program. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a bracelet size, with a golden halo floating out of the bracelet and reaching Yixinghuan's head. It grew bigger and bigger, gradually regaining its attraction. Yixing still felt dangerous and ran away. No matter how hard he tried, his feet couldn't move a single bit. The only thing he could do was watch himself being swallowed up by the aperture. That's it, has this really opened the door to hell? It's going to suck me in and I'm sure it's over. Where exactly is it going to take me? What the hell is this thing? No matter how much Yixing scolded and struggled, his body was getting further and further away from the ground, getting closer and closer to the aperture, and gradually being sucked in by that aperture. After being sucked into the aperture, Yixing gradually lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he found himself in a completely unfamiliar place. Without high-rise buildings, asphalt roads, and no homes around, he lay on a small mound of soil surrounded by weeds. What the hell is going on here? He tried hard to recall what had happened. He remembered someone who had vaguely said to him before losing consciousness. The energy ring has been activated, and the energy in the universe moves with the mind and enters the testing program. Energy loop testing. Test what? Why did I suddenly appear in this unfamiliar place when I was clearly at home? Is it time and space teleportation? Damn it, time travel. I've traveled. I have really traveled. He didn't expect the scene on TV to happen to him. This time I really posted it, with this baby, I can really feel proud and proud. This time, I can be my true self. I can realize all my dreams now. Yixing was still screaming excitedly. He lifted his sleeve to see if the bracelet was still there, then picked up a piece of dirt and slapped it on his head. Wow! It hurts so much. It seems true, not a dream. This is really a treasure. Yixing was still feeling extremely excited while touching the bracelet. No, it's not called a bracelet. I remember when I was traveling, a voice said it was called an energy ring. Yes, the name energy ring is appropriate. Without energy, how can he travel through it? Energy is the foundation of all things. This thing is designed to user-friendly, and even comes with a voice instruction manual. Ha ha ha. This time it's really amazing, ha ha ha. Yixing laughed for a while before realizing that his stomach was already growling with hunger. It took him an unknown amount of time to travel to this place, so he needed to quickly find something to eat. So Yixing came to a higher slope and looked around to see if there were any houses. Sure enough, smoke was rising not far away. The phone was submerged by the lake and useless. He could only judge by the sun in the sky. He looked at the sun in the sky and it happened to be lunchtime. Yixing quickly walked towards the smoking place.